Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens, he's likely to be finding himself a new home.
I think that at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson will not be a Baltimore Raven next year.
A Baltimore Ravens star quarterback Lamar Jackson is the biggest name to watch from the 2023 offseason trade market. His rookie deal is up, and Jackson reportedly turned down a mammoth contract extension worth around $250 million. So, if Baltimore places Jackson on the block, these are the 10 teams that should try to pursue a trade for the 2019 league MVP. New England Patriots. If not the Ravens, the Patriots might make the most sense for Jackson in 2023. I mean, think about it. The Patriots will always be a rush-first offense with Bill Belichick calling the shots. Ramondre Stevenson has emerged as a star. Opposing defenses would have a tough time finding a way to contain both him and Jackson in the backfield. The Patriots also field a top 5 defense practically every year, so Jackson wouldn't have to go off every single night for the Patriots to have a chance. And with an improved O-line and some decent pass catchers, Jackson would be in a good position to flourish as a passer as well. Here's why Jackson to New England is also juicy. Because the Pats could send Mac Jones to Baltimore as a part of the trade. Maybe John Harbaugh and company want to transition to a little more of a pass-happy offense, and they feel Jones would fit that mold there. At the very least, he'd be a bridge to Baltimore's next quarterback. The Patriots don't look like real contenders in the AFC with their current offense, but a quarterback upgrade would instantly make them a heavyweight again. Trading for Jackson would reopen their championship window just like that. New York Jets. The 2022 Jets were one of those teams that had us all saying, if only they had a good quarterback. Gangrene's defense finished the season 4th in scoring. Breece Hall and Michael Carter headlined a strong rushing game, and rookie wide receiver Garrett Wilson turned in a 1,000-yard season. Unfortunately, second-year quarterback Zach Wilson was horrible all year long. Backups Mike White and Joe Flacco didn't really fare much better either. And so, following a promising 7-4 start, the Jets finished the year on a 6-game losing streak. The Jets simply cannot wait on Wilson and hope that he'll turn into something good. With a deep roster, their window to win is beginning to open. And it would bust wide open if they made a trade for Baltimore's star quarterback. Jackson would fit perfectly in that offense. Robert Saleh loves to run the ball, and defenses would have a heck of a time trying to contain both Jackson and Hall. And on top of that, Jackson would actually have his best group of wideouts with Wilson, Corey Davis, and Elijah Moore. The Jets can't expect to compete with the top dogs in the AFC with Zach Wilson as their quarterback. Adding a top 10 signal caller would instantly propel the Jets back to Super Bowl contenders, bringing them on par with the likes of the Kansas City Chiefs, Cincinnati Bengals, and Buffalo Bills. Jackson is the quarterback that the Jets deserve and the one that they need right now. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Assuming Tom Brady retires or takes his talents elsewhere, the Bucs will need a new quarterback. And because they have so many veteran players under contract who are in their prime, 2023 isn't the year for the Bucs to rebuild. So if you're GM Jason Licht, why not make a move for a player like Jackson? The offensive line will bounce back next year with a healthy Ryan Jensen, and you have 2 stud receivers in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Tampa was way too reliant on the passing game in 2022, so the coaching staff should be keen on restructuring the offense. Adding Jackson might take this rushing game from terrible to elite. Not to mention that Jackson would be blessed with his best ever set of receivers. Plus, the NFC South is kind of a joke division. Adding Jackson would ensure that Tampa remains the kings of the South, meaning that they'd be hosting at least one playoff game a year. Light would have to sacrifice significant draft capital, but you may as well try to keep the competitive window open while core players like Evans, Godwin, and Jensen remain in their primes. This one seems like a no-brainer to me. Carolina Panthers. Like the Jets, the Panthers would have made the postseason if they had just had some half-decent quarterbacking this year. Unfortunately, that never came to be. The Panthers made a strong second-half surge under interim head coach Steve Wilks, but the lackluster play from Baker Mayfield, P.J. Walker, and Sam Darnold prevented the club from ending a 5-year playoff drought. Now, that being said, there is still a lot to like about this team. The rushing game remained dangerous without Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore is still an elite NFL wideout, and the defense got even better with Brian Burns and J.C. Horn leading the way. Now just imagine if Carolina made a play for Jackson. He too would fit pretty nicely in this run-heavy offense, and the weak state of the NFC South would unquestionably make the Panthers the team to beat in the division. Carolina is really just one good quarterback away from being a playoff contender, but adding a top-tier guy like Lamar Jackson would actually make them legit Super Bowl contenders. With so many young pieces on defense and the number 9 pick in this year's draft, the Panthers have plenty to offer Baltimore, especially if the Ravens want some players that can help them win now. What about a package including Yetur Gross-Matos, the number 9 pick, Terrace Marshall, and some more picks? That seems like a fair deal if you ask us. Tennessee Titans. The Titans need to undergo a bit of a reboot here. Ryan Tannehill has peaked in Music City, and we still don't know what they have in Malik Willis. Tennessee should continue to try and win now, while the likes of Derrick Henry, Taylor Lewan, Kevin Byard, and Danico Autry are in their primes. Making a trade for a superstar like Jackson is the way to go in keeping your Super Bowl window open. The Ravens and Titans have a bit of rivalry, sure, but if Mike Vrabel and company can propose a juicy offer that Baltimore just can't refuse, I'm sure they'll play nice and let bygones be bygones. Derrick Henry remains a top 3 running back in the NFL. Watching him and Jackson together in the backfield would be can't-miss theater. And it would elevate Tennessee right back into the mix of the AFC's best. If Tannehill could lead the Titans to 3 straight playoff appearances, imagine how far they could go with a better quarterback like Jackson. This is absolutely a team that should make a play for the dual-threat sensation. Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons have been better than expected under head coach Arthur Smith. The man finds ways to get production out of rather flawed rosters, but it's quite evident that this team could really reach that next step with a top-level QB. Marcus Mariota wasn't the answer in 2022, and Desmond Ridder is a huge question mark. But why wait around and hope for the best with Ridder when you can land a franchise-changing signal caller like the 2019 league MVP? Atlanta's rushing game has been explosive with Cordarrelle Patterson and Tyler Algier leading the way. Kyle Pitts and Drake London are a nice set of cornerstone players to build the passing game around too. Now just throw Jackson into that mix and you have the looks of a top 5 offense. And because the NFC South is so pathetic, Atlanta would easily dominate for a while with a guy like Jackson leading the way. New Orleans Saints. Yeah, that's right. All 4 NFC South teams should make a call for Lamar Jackson. I mean, you really think New Orleans, Carolina, and Atlanta can roll with the same QBs that they used in 2022? Come on. The Saints are in a pretty tough spot. They narrowly missed out on the NFC South Division crown. They're in a tough cap situation. There's a mix of aging veterans like Cameron Jordan and Demario Davis, alongside a group of young studs like Marshawn Lattimore, Ryan Ramczyk, and Chris Olave. Yes, the Saints gave up the 2023 first-rounder to the Philadelphia Eagles, but if you can get Jackson for a package that includes 2024 and 2025 first-round picks, why not do it? Jackson moves the needle and would give New Orleans the elite quarterback that they've been missing since Drew Brees retired. Jackson would do wonders behind that O-line. And with Olave and Alvin Kamara as his main weapons, he could single-handedly take this New Orleans team right back into Super Bowl contention. So if Baltimore makes him available, why shouldn't the Saints try to pursue Jackson in a trade? Washington Commanders. Yeah, who would have guessed? Carson Wentz wasn't the answer in Washington. Wow, no way. Who saw that coming?
Literally everyone.
The Commanders really are at a now or never point with head coach Ron Rivera. Taylor Heineke had his moments here and there, but he's not a consistent full-time starting QB. So it's back to the drawing board for Washington. They could try to move up and draft a quarterback, but if Jackson hits the trade block, you owe it to yourselves to at least make a call. Washington is also a team that's a simple QB upgrade away from contending for titles. They boast a championship-level defense and a very nice set of weapons in Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Brian Robinson, and Antonio Gibson. If they had Jackson, this offense would enter another dimension. There would be no easy way of containing all of Washington's explosive playmakers. Simply put, adding Jackson would put Washington right in the mix for the NFC East Division crown. Las Vegas Raiders. We all know now that the Raiders are prepared to move on from Derek Carr, who is benched for the final 2 games of the season. You've all heard the speculation about Tom Brady reuniting with Josh McDaniels in Sin City, but Jackson would be the better long-term acquisition here. Carr was solid, but he never really was a great quarterback for the Raiders. Jackson, on the other hand, is a game changer when he's on the field. Carr just couldn't move the needle the way other AFC West quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes or Justin Herbert have for the Kansas City Chiefs and Los Angeles Chargers, respectively. Jackson would be joining a great situation in Sin City. There's still the possibility that the team retains this year's rushing champion Josh Jacobs. Throw in Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, and Darren Waller, and you'd have the makings for a top 5 offense in the NFL. Jackson also might be drawn to the idea of playing for Las Vegas because, well, Nevada carries no state tax, so that means more money in the pocket. And that's a pretty good perk right there. Indianapolis Colts. The Colts struck out on Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan. Many are calling for general manager Chris Ballard to simply draft and develop a new QB as opposed to trading for a veteran. But you know, Jackson should be the exception. He is miles better than Wentz and Matty Ice. Jackson would have a nice setup there and start running back Jonathan Taylor, along with young wideouts Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce. Indy's O-line took a massive step back in 2022, but you gotta believe it'll return to elite status in 2023. Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, and Braden Smith are just just too talented to let the pass protection break down so frequently again. 2022 was a disaster of a year in Indianapolis, but let's not overlook the talent they have on both sides of the ball. Shaquille Leonard and DeForest Buckner are in the midst of their primes and capable of leading this defense to the promised land. With another high draft pick and several quality veterans on the roster, the Colts could piece together a very enticing trade package to land Jackson. And it would be hard to bet against the team whose QB has a 45-16 career regular season record. So yes, if you're the Colts, you absolutely need to make a play for Lamar Jackson. The long-term success of this franchise would change forever for the better if they could land him. But where do you think Lamar Jackson will play in 2023? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked the video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.